there's probably a lot we need to unpack. Even got out of here with a win, but doesn't feel like there was just a whole lot that went well for us tonight. And give credit to Marshall. Just turned us over way too much. We just, I think we all have to sort of wrap our heads around the fact that you got one kid out there in Shea Chesky who's played a lot of minutes. And then you got 4 other guys out there that haven't really played meaningful minutes. That's not an excuse. But to say that we repped our press attack for the last couple days, we knew that they were going to sit in a zone for a majority of the game. There's some growing pains that we're going to have to live through, and tonight's one of those nights where we just have to continue to show them and on film and give them reps in practice and just continue to help them grow as a basketball team. So, again, do we have faith that this team will continue to just build those good reps, and we're going to start seeing some of the growth? And that's what we need to see, right? We need to see some of the growth that we had, from the last game in UIC. I didn't feel like we saw that tonight, and so again, we'll go back and some of the things that we're still not learning, we have to go back and hit them hard with. These are the things that we have to get and be so much better at doing. I will say this, in spite of us, really struggling offensively against the pressure, I thought defensively you had a lot of kids out there that Nevaeh, Shea, that really played hard on that side of the ball. And that's the bright spot when your shots aren't falling and you're turning the ball over the way we did tonight. Can you figure out how to still impact the game? And I thought, especially Shea and Nevaeh, really impacted it with their defense. So.
Yeah, Teri, in terms of the turnovers, so kind of a 2-part question. I guess, what was the most concerning part? I mean, the volume, obviously, but in terms of like how they unfolded, like, was it the zone, was it the press, or anything specific? And then the second one, like when you have that many mistakes, do you have like an automatic kind of like fallout response to like what happens in practice the night? Like, I mean, how do you approach kind of trying to clean it up and work through that?
Right. Well, the first question, I think it happened in the press, and then I think it happened just in the half court as well. I mean, we were careless. I thought, from the beginning, Bo struggled tonight. We consider Bo one of our better decision makers, and in the, against the press. And, I thought we looked passive. I thought we looked tentative. I thought we looked unsure. I thought some of us just looked like we lost some confidence as the game went on. And, Mike, that just can't happen. You got to learn to play through your mistakes and move on to the next play, and have a short memory of what just happened. And I don't think, for some of our players still, because of their inexperience or lack of experience and youth, I think they carry that with them sometimes, and they become their own worst enemy, right? And then one mistake compounds, and there's another mistake, and you're thinking about the last mistake, so you make another mistake, and I think it just that's what happens, and so we got to be able to. Again, show them in practice, absolutely, from a film perspective, but, we got to make sure that it's stuff. I just think they got to get real-time reps, because we know this, Marshall's not the only team that if you watch this game, we should probably anticipate seeing more pressure in the backcourt. And so, we're going to have to make sure that, there's a couple things that are mainstays in our practices, and one of them is passing. We got to become better passers. We got to use ball fakes, pass fakes. Rebounding's another one of those things that we're going to rep every single day, and we're going to rep our transition defense every day. And so probably have to look at also adding to that how we're going to handle press and our press attack, and what our strategy is, moving forward.
Teri, you obviously had a few performances like this early on last season, and you said it yourself in preseason that last year your group didn't really handle that well, and it kind of snowballed. What do you need to do this year to make sure that it doesn't snowball now? And I guess specifically your player leadership, what do you need out of them to make sure that, you keep the train on track?
Right. Well, I think, Shay has to, she has to become more of a vocal leader. She can say what she wants about, where we lead by example, Bo and I, with, our work ethic and that. But I do think that Shay has to be more of a vocal leader. Bo has to get outside of her head, right? She when she has nights like this, like I mentioned, she's going to have to mature quickly for us because we're depending on her. Like I mentioned, we really feel like Bo gives us a very good decision maker. Usually, tonight not being her night, but she was a victim of allowing one mistake to become another mistake, and then she couldn't get out of her own way. And so, we got to keep, like I mentioned, we'll keep showing them, but also we have to pour into them and help them, realize that, the game is imperfect and it's 40 minutes. And if we can guard the way we've been guarding, that's good, but there's just so much more on the offensive side of the ball. And, as I mentioned, we just can't allow one mistake to turn into another one. And I think that's a message for all of them.
Hey, Coach, kind of two questions here. Mm-hmm. Z goes to the bench there in the first quarter, picks up the 2 fouls, but Chesky and Nguyen, they've had 5 rebounds each. What can you say about their impact when Z goes to the bench? And then also you win the rebounding battle, I think 46-30.
Right.
How impressed were you with that tonight?
Well, we've been challenging Odessa to come in and be a reliable backup, to Z. And tonight, I thought she had a good first half. I thought second half probably wasn't as effective. She got buried a couple times there in the low block, and we had to get Z back on the floor fairly fast. And so she just has to continue to play with physicality and embrace that. She's, in this league, you have to have some moxie, you have to have some toughness, you have to be physical. And you have to embrace that, and you have to want that. And so, what we're trying to convince, Odessa is that, look, if you want these minutes, you gotta be all those things. And like I said, she was a bright spot in the first half. Like I said, not so much in the second. But she's going to have to continue to improve and get better. And then rebounding. Yeah, well, we talked about that. This is a team that turns you over like they did us tonight, but also does a great job of crashing the glass. And we really challenged all of them to dominate the boards and really our guards. We felt like our guards had to help us rebound the ball tonight. And so many of them got the message, like you mentioned. Shay, I thought, got herself in there. With 10, but in Bo and I guess Val got in there as well, and so yeah, that was something that we talked about because Marshall's really good at tracking down those misses usually.
Shay back, Coach. Sorry. The question's going to be about Shay. So last week on Friday, she had a phenomenal performance. Mm-hmm. This week, you've just talked about her a lot. She played every single minute, and she didn't touch the bench once.
Right.
And offensively, she only shot 7 shots, but her presence on the defensive side of the ball as a teammate offensively was something special. What does it mean to you to have such a bright spot on this team, regardless of where you're getting that?
Right. Well, and we talk about it all the time, and again, it's still so early. We're three games into this, but the message is always, when your shot's not falling or you're not getting shots, what ways can you still impact the game? And I thought she was terrific tonight defensively for us. And then obviously, got in there and got us some rebounds as well. And so, but I will say this, my expectations for Shea is to do that. She's a senior. She's played a lot of minutes. She's played in big games. And in what we need from Shea, though, is we need her to be more vocal, And I think that she does a good job of helping her teammates and lifting them up. But, she also has to be more demanding to get the best out of them also. And so she will continue to, be called upon to be that for us. We talked about it, Bo, Z, and Shea being our leaders. I thought Z was pretty quiet tonight. She looked tired, fatigued. I'm not sure. She got the 2 early fouls, but she just kind of looked, I thought, a little bit not as energetic as we were used to seeing Z. But she's been playing a lot of minutes too, and she's a kid that didn't get any minutes last year. So this is all new for her, as it's new for Nevaeh, as it's new for Bo. Playing all these minutes for these guys. Even Val didn't play much either last year, as you guys know. So there's four guys out there in that lineup that have played little to no minutes. So it's new to all of them.
Hi, Coach. With Nevaeh being a freshman and continuing to impact the game the way she is, what does that say about her as a player, and how are you continuing to push her to grow?
Well, she has to be better for us as a playmaker. She can't have how many turnovers tonight? She has 6 turnovers. She has to have more discernment what a good shot is for her. She shot that long 3 and got the rebound and went and tried to challenge at the rim. Like, that's just a bad shot. She got the rebound in the second half, did the same thing. She did it the other night at UIC. So it's some bad habits that we're trying to break with her. Just having a better feel for what's going on in the game. Are we getting good shots? Are we not getting good shots? The one thing about her is she does have a very aggressive mindset, both defensively and offensively. And sometimes, offensively, that can hurt her. Like, we got to get her to slow down. And, tonight I thought because of their press, they sped us up. And we kept sped up in the second, or once we got it across the timeline. And she has to do a much better job of being a more reliable, efficient passer, playmaker for us with her passing. She can't have careless turnovers. But I just think the discernment of what's a good shot when we need a good shot is something that she's going to continue to learn, because we're going to keep showing her this is not a good shot. And sooner or later, my hope is that it'll sink in, and we'll start seeing her make better decisions.
I'm sure this ties into a lot of what you've talked about, but the end of game situations, like last maybe 4 minutes, and those are probably the hardest thing to rep with a new team because it's different in practice, right?
Right.
What was what would you like to see a little different? And was this a good test kind of to have this early to try to get some of those reps?
Right. Well, again, the backcourt we've been working on. We had 5 seconds to get across the timeline. We installed, that just for that scenario to happen. We just didn't do a very good job of getting it over the timeline. Z was open. I just think Bo panicked a little bit. And then, things that you want your players to figure out is when number 1 hits the 1-3 and Z's off of her, right? And then she's been taking them all night, right? And one of those are bound to go in. And, she finally hits one. And then she comes back and Z never climbs out of her closeout, right? That's the moment where it's like they're going to take these. The last one just went in. Maybe you need to get a little bit tighter, a little bit closer. But those are moments where you hope that, again, no experience, Mike. Like, she's not been in that scenario where she knows better. And we got to help her. We got to continue to teach her that's one of those moments where it's like a heat check. She hit one. let's get a little bit closer to her maybe the next time. Because, once you hit one, you feel good about the next one going up, right? And so it's those types of things that, again, you got to show them in film and talk to them about. But, again, handling ourselves in those pressure situations against their press, we still not, I don't know, there was probably I don't know how many possessions we had, but there couldn't have been over 10 possessions where we looked like we'd worked on a press attack for the last 2 days.
Teri, this is a little off the wall, but your recruiting class for 26 is ranked top 10 in the country, one of your strongest classes in a while. Mm-hmm. You brought in Colston this offseason as recruiting coordinator, came in, highly touted recruiter. I know you can't talk about specific recruits, but I guess what impact has he had on your program's recruiting philosophy and strategy, and how pleased are you with the results that's led to already?
Well, I mean, we're certainly, pleased with the results, but, Colston, and he would tell you if he was up here, I mean, he works extremely hard, but, there's probably 2 or 3 of those that we'd worked on a long time. Allie Patberg being the lead on 2 of them, on the other 2. 2 of them, 2 out of the 3, and Key helping certainly with that. And so, there was one in particular that CT worked very hard at, recruiting, and but he's been outstanding. I mean, he's been relentless. He has changed everything about how we recruit, as far as the correspondence, how often he's a guy that's always on the phone. And that's what the best recruiters do. They don't leave any stone unturned. Has a list of prospects that we're looking at, but who are the people in their circle that we have to contact and we got to build relationships with. And so he's been outstanding in his role as that. But he would be the first one to tell you that it's always a team effort. And AP has done a tremendous job, and so is Key. With helping with this entire class.